Oh, wow. The Fly. We're going to do the 1985 or 86 version, the Jeff Goldblum version. Um, that's the one that I'm mainly reviewing. I saw it for my first time, believe it or not, last year. And just the first time seeing it, I loved the crap out of this movie. I had no idea that Jeff Goldblum and Gina Davis were in it. I used to friggin' love Gina Davis. I had the biggest crush on her as a kid. I saw her in movies like League of Their Own and the Bill Murray movie Quick Change. She was like a big staple of the 90s. Thelma and Louise, got her, I think, really recognized. I had no idea she was in this, or Jeff Goldblum for that matter. I just didn't do a lot of research on it. In the 80s, I watched a lot of Freddy and Jason, and those kind of set the standards for horror movies. I didn't really know what The Fly was. It seemed to be like an homage to those old like 1950s and 60s B movies with the creature movies, and I didn't know really what to expect. But over the years, I'd heard some really cool things about it, like the makeup and things like that. And I'm not an expert on the film. I'm just doing this impromptu, so I didn't do a lot of research on like the behind the scenes. I did listen to some of the commentary last year because I went right out and bought the Blu-ray. I watched it on cable, I think, first, and I loved it so much that I went out to Amazon, I think, and just bought the Blu-ray, and I watched it like two more times that month. I loved The Fly. Now, I also did watch the black and white version from the 60s, which I think has Vincent Price in it. I do like the 80s version a lot, but there's some good stuff in the black and white one. I would recommend seeing them both. I especially like the twist ending of the black and white one because it was clever. I should have seen it coming and I didn't. Because in that, the overall, the story is very different. They're two very completely different films. The premise is the same. A guy who's doing experiments accidentally turns himself into a fly. That's the same. But the overall, obviously in the 60s, they couldn't be very violent with the effects and things. But in that film, the way the fly works, the human character, when he becomes the fly, his head and I think one of his arms gets turned into a fly. And then the fly that flies around in the movie, whenever someone sees him, he's got a white head. And the whole movie, you're wondering, why does he have a white head? And you realize at the very end of the movie, I don't know why I didn't see it coming, why he's got the white head. And it's really clever. The ending finale is like really chilling. That stuck with me almost as much as the ending of the Jeff Goldblum version. Um, the Fly is friggin' phenomenal. Like, it's really entertaining. And it's not just the visual effects. It's not just the fact that, it could be like a parable for, disease and how disease really affects a person and things like that, which it is. But it's the characters and just the storytelling, the way that it really gets you into the storyline, the way that it kind of descends from this kind of sci-fi fantasy that's really fun, and gets you asking questions about this kind of technology that can teleport people everywhere. And you really like Jeff Goldblum. He's just awkward enough, but just likable enough to be with him for most of the film. But then, he gets transformed into the fly, and slowly you start to see the different stages that it takes and the toll it takes on Gina Davis's character. It's just freaking phenomenal. I can't say enough, and I don't want to go too much into it because it'll spoil it, but this is a freaking, like, entertaining as hell movie, and I want to see it, like, right now, because I don't say this a lot about, 80s horror movies, but it's, like, one of the best ones from the 80s. I did like it better than the black and white one because I saw it first, and even if I had seen the black and white one first, I think I would have expected to enjoy this one better. The same way that I never saw the original Thing from Another World, I think it was called. I have seen John Carpenter's The Thing, which usually overshadows the black and white one. And the black and white one has like a huge following. There are tons of people that prefer that one and like both of them the same. I would imagine, because I haven't seen the original Thing, but I'd imagine with The Fly, it's kind of the same thing where the 80s one, because of the effects and the goriness of it, the visuals, I can understand why it would overshadow the original. They're both really good. I would recommend both of them, but for an 80s movie, this is more than a slasher. It's not really a slasher because he doesn't kill anybody. The terrifying thing is seeing him transform into the fly, and the ending is really twisted but like heart-wrenching at the same time. Gina Davis is great in this, as well as his girlfriend, who, you know, understands what he's going through and is terrified of being with him because of this. It's heart-wrenching, and it's stuck with me for the whole past year. I haven't gone back to it since, but being October, this is like the perfect film for this occasion. So if you haven't seen The Fly, like I hadn't until last year, definitely check it out, because it's one hell of a ride. Thanks for watching this review, and I hope to do a few more this month before we get to Halloween.